Vegeta and Nappa have joined the Galactic Patrol, kind of unwillingly. But now that Frieza and King Cold are dealt with, what challenges will Bardock face next? We'll cover all that and more in the sixth part of What If Bardock Was the First Super Saiyan. Bardock trains even further with his family. They've been trying to go beyond Super Saiyan for a while, and by this point in the story, I feel like they've definitely at least achieved the first part of it, which is mastering the form. Bardock has mastered Super Saiyan years ago. I'd say he did this before he even met Piccolo. Considering how long it's been, that's part of why Bardock was so strong and so untouchable. And actually, when fighting King Cold, Bardock had already accessed Super Saiyan 2. In case Frieza was too strong, he wanted to make sure he can go beyond Super Saiyan. Just as a little extra insurance, he unlocked Super Saiyan 2 right before Raditz showed up. Though, he didn't even need it in the first place, because he as a Super Saiyan was strong enough to fight King Cold and Frieza, and he had a whole family of Super Saiyans. Too bad he didn't actually get to fight Frieza. But the rest of his family has mastered Super Saiyan, and they probably have Super Saiyan 2 by now as well. Raditz of course is behind, and he's going to take some time to get Super Saiyan. He doesn't even have the regular one yet, much less the mastered version of it. But thanks to being surrounded by a bunch of Super Saiyans, it shouldn't be too tough to get him caught up to speed. So there's nothing with the androids, no heart virus, no time travel, no cell, none of that. After Frieza's defeat, that means nearly a decade of peace, at least if things went normally. We'll get more into that later. But we are in a period of peace, so what's happening now? Vegeta and Nappa are liabilities for the patrol. They obviously don't have a sense of justice, but they are getting used to their job, and they work for free. Plus, they love fighting, so they're pretty good for the patrol. Although they do have a habit of picking fights where there wouldn't be fights in the first place, and killing people rather than capturing them. Mainly because they try and instigate the people they're going after, and then once the fight starts, they have the authority to kill. The patrol's not too sure it's a good idea to have them around, but at the same time, a lot of the patrolmen are pretty weak, so when they're fighting stronger criminals, it is good to have Vegeta and Nappa there. Like, for example, there's one prisoner locked away named Moro who no one can kill, and maybe if they keep Vegeta and Nappa around long enough, even with Moro's weird abilities, they could execute him. That's what the patrol wants to do with Moro anyways. But that'll have to come later down the line. Mayris is pretty intrigued by all the mortals around him. Granolah, the Saiyans on Earth, the Saiyans in the patrol, viewing how they go about life and their different philosophies on things. The mortals are pretty fun to study because of that. Speaking of Vegeta, he definitely would go between Earth and the Galactic Patrol every now and then. Partially because I feel like he'd be assigned to the part of the universe where Earth is, but also because he wants to go there. There's Super Saiyans there. He wants to figure out how to get the form for himself, and he picks fights with the Super Saiyans on Earth occasionally. Partially to test himself, partially to see how the form works, and partially because he just wants to fight. And eventually this does help him and Nappa unlock Super Saiyan. But it also has a side effect for Vegeta. He gets a lot closer with Bulma, and eventually, the two of them get together just like normal. Probably a little later than normal, but still, together. And speaking of couples, let's go over to Kakarot. He has another kid. This would be Goten, but he's not going to be called Goten here. What would his name be? Well, I'm going to get a little lazy with this one. His name will be Kakarot Jr., and I think it's fitting because he looks exactly like the rest of the family line, so why not have him actually named after his father? The second he sees that hairstyle, he realizes that he's going to go with Kakarot or Bardock for the name. And hey, after all, Goku did name Gohan after Grandpa Gohan, so it's not like he's exactly original with that name either. At least Garlic got an original one here. As for Ruta, she's obviously gone to school and everything, and even graduated college. And growing up with a rich family, she doesn't really need a traditional job. She could just pursue whatever she wants to, whatever makes her happy. She becomes interested in the nature on Earth, and eventually, she takes up a job as a park ranger. Especially with how strong she is, she makes a really good fit for that, protecting an island with a bunch of rare animals on it. But a few years into this role, she ends up meeting someone, a fellow ranger named Lapis. This would be Android 17, but he never becomes an android here. He lived a normal life, and he still wants to protect animals. I feel like his personality would be pretty similar, like not the exact same as Android 17 because he didn't have all that messed up stuff happening in his life, but at the very least he's going to have similar interest and it would lead him here. And you know, he's not a modified human, so he's not going to be strong. He's actually just as strong as a normal human, but Ruta ends up teaching him about Ki, and he learns a little bit about it. He'd be more like Fidel, if anything, where he could use Ki, but he's not particularly strong, at least relative to the people around him. Compared to a normal human, yeah, a lot stronger. The two of them get a lot closer. And, coincidentally, Krillin also meets somebody else, Lazuli. Now, Krillin's actually not that close with the family, at least not just yet. He meets Lazuli naturally, and the two of them become a couple. One day he meets her brother, and he's incredibly surprised to see that he's dating Ruta. Even though Krillin doesn't know her well, he remembers her from the tournaments. She's one of the strongest people on Earth, and he's pretty surprised to see that, well, that's a couple. And neither couples are married yet, but eventually this would mean that the two of them are sorta related, by marriage at least. Speaking of Krillin though, I feel like at some point he would seek out Kakarot, remembering him as one of the strongest people on Earth and the World Tournament champ, twice. Now of course there's Mr. Satan who won the next World Tournament. Kakarot didn't show up to that one. Nor did Krillin either, but he could tell that guy's kind of a phony. But seeing the fame that Mr. Satan got, it makes him wonder why Kakarot never pursued that type of fame either. The good thing is he does know Kakarot through Roshi because Garlic became Roshi's student, so Krillin actually knows Garlic decently enough. So he finds Kakarot and he fights him, just trying to test out his own power as well as Kakarot's. And Kakarot's a lot stronger than him. Not even with Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2, just in base alone. He far surpasses Krillin. Although, he is really interested in Krillin's power. For a normal human, he's pretty powerful. And Krillin asks if he could train with Kakarot a bit. He does want to become the strongest he could possibly be, and what better thing to do than train with the strongest person on Earth? Kakarot laughs at this. He's actually not the strongest person on Earth. Bardock is still above him, and even Piccolo is too. Kakarot's more like a solid number 3. But sure, if Krillin thinks he's the strongest on Earth, he'll go along with that. And he has no problem sparring with Krillin. They could even get Garlic involved just so he can get some better experience. So even with how different Kakarot's life is here, he still does cross paths with Krillin, and it takes a little bit longer, but he eventually forms somewhat of a bond with him. And also they are vaguely related because Krillin will be Kakarot's brother-in-law's brother-in-law. Wow, that is weird to say. As for Raditz, he lives a bachelor life. Unlike his siblings, he grew up like a regular Saiyan, and he isn't used to forming romantic bonds like those people on Earth. After all, Bardock and Gine were kind of abnormal for Saiyans. Those type of relationships didn't normally pop up. Thankfully, they fit in pretty well on Earth. As for Raditz, though, he's pretty much a standard Saiyan. Though, while he doesn't have romantic bonds, he still can mingle with women, and he becomes more of a heartbreaker. He basically becomes a spoiled trust fund kid who loves to party. He has rich parents, and he works, probably doing a job with his hands like carpentry. But he doesn't need to. He just does that to kill time, and the rest of the time, he has fun, enjoying his new peaceful life here. Otherwise, he is training. And Nappa's mostly focused on his job with the patrol, eventually taking it a little more seriously. He also keeps his normal Saiyan ideals, and he doesn't end up living on Earth. Vegeta, on the other hand, does at some point. Nappa kind of just goes around space, and he becomes kind of an underling to Granolah. Granolah really hated Nappa and Vegeta at first, but he's grown more used to them. It looks like they're at least making an effort to change, which he likes. Granolah is focused on work. He becomes the highest-ranking galactic patrolman. He trains a lot with Maris, who wants him to work on his emotions and focus more. Granolah gets a new form as well. Of course, Cerelians don't have any extra forms in the manga besides that double red-eyed form, and Granolah has that by this point, but I've done this in another scenario before where I gave him a new form for himself, Super Cerelian. He bases the name off Super Saiyan because it's the easiest thing he could think of, but it is different. It's not just a regular power-up. After unlocking the double red eyes a while ago, he ascended beyond that. Now the double red eyes does give him a boost in power, but not a major boost. This, on the other hand, is an actual big boost. I'd say Super Cerelian is stronger than Super Saiyan, but a little bit weaker than Super Saiyan 2. This form also does enhance all of Granolah's senses, the regular 5 that everyone has, and then his ki sensing as well. His eyesight is already pretty much maxed out, but now he could use other things in combat that he wouldn't normally use. His sense of touch, smell, hearing, and I guess taste, but I don't know how he would use that in combat. And then enhanced ki sensing is a really big boost. But with all of these strong people on Earth, there is one downside. Babidi starts collecting energy a lot earlier on Earth, and even just passively, he's getting a lot more than normal. He has so much by this point, and he doesn't want to wait for the tournament. He's going to strike now. About 2 years before he would normally strike, Babidi makes his move, and he decides to go after one of the Saiyans. On Monster Island, the newlywed Ruda and Lapis are doing their normal daily jobs. Lapis encounters a guy who's dressed really weirdly. He thinks at first it's just a normal poacher, but once he sees the guy's face, he realizes he's no normal poacher. Ruda's not too far away, but she hears a gunshot. And then a few more, followed by some ki blasts as well. Lapis realized that his gun didn't work against this guy, and then his ki blast didn't either. She finds a statue of her husband, and then sees a demonic-looking man standing there, Dabura. She instantly goes Super Saiyan 2 out of rage and starts fighting him. She's strong enough to contend with Dabura, but not kill him outright, which is perfect. He could drag out the battle and get a bunch of energy from this. And at some point he does end up turning her into stone, waiting for others to show up. He can only fight one of them at once. If another shows up, he's gonna lose. And it's good he did this because 2 other Saiyans show up right after, Kakarot and Garlic. They sense this, and Kakarot immediately jump to help her. But they're confused seeing her and Lapis as statues. Kakarot has a scouter with him too, and communicates with all the other Saiyans, as well as those on the patrol. They're very proactive when any threats come to Earth because they don't know what to expect sometimes. So he calls all of his friends over, and also sends them a live video feed. Now, no one knows who this guy is, except for Maris. He gets the video feed, and he knows of Dabura, and he knows what's about to happen. They're surprised he knows so much, but he explains. This guy's from the Demon Realm, and that symbol on his forehead, it seems to be related to Majin Buu. But why? Kakarot and Garlic fight Dabura in Super Saiyan 2, and they kill him pretty easily. I mean, when you got 2 Super Saiyan 2s there, it's not really that hard. When they kill Dabura, Ruda and Lapis recover. They still are injured, but they're at least not statues anymore. But Babidi doesn't care. He's watching on and he's pleased. He's got more than enough energy. The others all rush over and try and figure out what happened, but they're lost. Until they sense a terrifying presence far away. Majin Buu awakens, immediately starting to terrorize everything under the command of Babidi. Everyone rushes over. Bardock's family, Vegeta, Nappa, Granolah, and even Piccolo, who teleports down from the lookout. He actually rounds everyone up and teleports them right over to Babidi once he gets involved. At first they encounter Pui Pui and Yakon, but they kill those two really easily. But Majin Buu's gonna be a problem. Maybe with everyone together they should be fine. Like, Buu seems really powerful, but surely with their combined strength it shouldn't be an issue. Though what they don't realize is that Buu has magic on his side. He has abilities that they can't really contend with. Babidi also knows that Bardock is an issue. He's the strongest one here, so Babidi tells Buu to turn him into candy, which he does. They don't expect it, and they have no way to counter it. And Gine's right next to him, and she also gets hit with a candy beam. Buu eats them, and then, weirdly enough, he gets a huge boost of power. Babidi didn't expect this, but even though Buu just ate them, it looks like they were so strong that he actually absorbed their power. And now he's hungry for more candy. Both baffled and angered, Bardock and Gine's kids respond accordingly. Garlic as well. They all jump into Super Saiyan 2, with Raditz having just recently unlocked this. And weirdly enough, Garlic gets a bigger boost in power than they do. They've noticed this for a while. Garlic has had some weird relationship with his rage where he gets stronger than the average Saiyan does, probably due to him being a hybrid Saiyan. They're not too sure why, but they've definitely explored it by now. But even with the 4 of them in Super Saiyan 2 and a boosted Garlic, it's not enough. Buu is really strong, and having Bardock and Gine's power doesn't help. Granolah is able to take advantage of the chaos though. With one clean sniper shot, he's able to take out Babidi, who throws up a barrier really quickly, but it's not strong enough to defend against Granolah. He wipes out the wizard thinking that this will help, and it is necessary, but also it means Buu is now uncontrolled. Without Bardock, Piccolo's now the strongest, and he tries to face Buu, who also realizes that Piccolo might be an issue, especially with his magical abilities. He's turned into candy, and then Buu launches another random candy beam, hitting Nappa. He shouldn't have come into work today. Buu eats those pieces of candy, and he doesn't digest them. He absorbs them. Granolah could see this too. He observes Buu, realizing they're alive. Also because Buu then transforms, undergoing a change where he becomes a lot smarter and a lot stronger than before. He got so much extra power that he just turned into Super Buu. Vegeta, Kakarot and his siblings, Garlic and Granolah are the only ones left. Majin Buu is too strong. They've grown so used to being incredibly strong, barely ever being challenged in their lives. Kakarot's thinking back on it, and he remembers Krillin. Sure, they've worked just as hard as Krillin, probably even harder than he has, but Krillin's faced a ton of challenges in his life. He was never the top dog. He always had to really fight to be where he wanted to be. Kakarot never got the same lessons that the Turtle School gave to Goku, teaching him that he's not infallible. Vegeta and Nappa have been humbled before, and of course Raditz has too. But Kakarot and Ruda never have. They thought they could win any fight that they wanted to. Vegeta didn't expect to encounter anything like this. But over time, Vegeta had to learn how to pick battles to fight and battles to avoid. He's not as overconfident as those two. It's a fatal flaw they've never overcome. Two people appear out of nowhere, Shin and Kibito. They didn't expect Babidi to strike this early, and Shin had to act fast. He tells everyone to come with them. Obviously they don't know who this guy is. But on top of that, Kakarot and Ruda don't want to leave. Raditz tells them they have to go. Even though they don't know who this guy is, they're probably better off going with him than staying here and fighting Buu. He tells them to not be stupid. But they tell Raditz they're not running from this. They could win this fight. Raditz says he's not going to lose them too. As their older brother, he's going to drag them along, no matter what it takes. The two keep fighting, but Raditz then charges all of his power, and he's able to catch Kakarot with an attack off guard, punching his brother hard enough to knock him out. This just further angers Ruda, who's about to fight Raditz, her own brother. She tells Raditz again she's not going. She's going to kill this guy, and Raditz isn't going to get in the way. But then her hair turns back to normal, and she falls to the ground unconscious. Granola's standing behind her, having sniped one of her vital points, knocking her out. He also views the two of them as younger siblings, so he's going to watch out for them like Raditz. Even though Garlic is controlled by his rage sometimes, he's more level-headed when it comes to fights, so he doesn't need much convincing. And Vegeta goes along with it because everyone else is going to. Shin and Kibito teleport everyone away, with Buu left really confused, going around destroying even more. Though as they're transported away, Granolah's pretty concerned. They're not sure of the status of Piccolo's dragon, and he remembers Monaito's dragon isn't active anymore now that Piccolo's fully assumed the role of Guardian again. And if anything happens to Monaito or Piccolo, or the planet, they're not going to have any Dragon Balls to bring anyone back. At least not on Earth. And they're going to have to really come up with a plan fast. With that, we'll leave off here for now. What'd you guys think about this part? What's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel, and it shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.